We've all been there. We're touring this beautiful model home with all these beautiful upgrades. I mean, to the T, right? It's professionally designed. So you're touring this beautiful model home and you're thinking about, purchasing this new home. So now what? What does it really take? And what is the process involved in purchasing a new build? In this video, I will be sharing with you 7 things to consider before purchasing a brand new home. Before we dive into the list, let me share with you what takes place in the process of purchasing a brand new home. Starting with an agent representing you as your buyer's agent, scheduling an appointment to tour the model home. After you've toured the model home and decided which floor plan you like, you move forward with the purchase agreement. After touring the model home, you decide which floor plan would fit the needs and the lifestyle of you and your family, and you want to move forward with the purchase agreement. Before we get to the purchase agreement, the first thing that the builder asks you to do is to get pre-approved with their lender. Even if you already have a pre-approval letter, the builder wants you to go through another round of pre-approval with their preferred lender. And in most cases, these builders have their own lending arm. So that's where you would send your information and go through that pre-approval process. Once you're pre-approved, we move forward with the purchase agreement. Within the purchase agreement, there are additional items that you need to take into consideration, which is the lot premium, the structural upgrades, and the design upgrades. Those are all additional costs on top of the base price. After deciding which structural upgrades to do and design upgrades to make after you visit the design center, and of course the lot premium that's added on top, you then finalize your purchase agreement and you go into signing. At that point, we open escrow with the title and you need to wire the earnest money deposit. The earnest money deposit ranges anywhere from, I've seen, $5,000 all the way to $50,000. And that is your initial deposit that you hold with the title during the escrow process. If you're purchasing a brand new home where you've selected the lot you want to build on, there's usually a groundbreaking ceremony where you actually bring shovels, you have your, sold sign, or in my case, you have my Las Vegas Sotheby's Kaori sign that I'll come and hold next to you for photo ops. That groundbreaking photo op is such a great opportunity. It's a memorable time for you and your family to let everybody know that you've purchased and you're very excited about your brand new home. Construction time ranges anywhere from 6 months to even 2 years, depending on who the builder is. And I'll talk a little bit more about time frame in this video. But during that time, once the framing is done, the builder will schedule an appointment called the frame walk. At the frame walk, myself will attend as well, and we go over the home and make sure everything that you see in the plans is what the framing is. So in the event that you've made any structural upgrades, you want to make sure that all those structural upgrades are incorporated into your house in the frame walk. It's also an opportunity to understand and learn more about the house, learn where all the electrical, the plumbing, all those different HVAC and different components of the house is, and really understand the structure and the foundation of the house. It's a very exciting time. I always like to document it, so I usually have, my photographers there with me when we do the frame walk as well, and we'll also take photos at that point as well with my buyers. After the frame walk, what's scheduled is a new home orientation, which is scheduled usually about 3 days or a week before closing. At that new home orientation, I also attend, and we mark up the home with the blue tape with any imperfections that we see. Maybe it's a paint job, maybe it's stucco, maybe we're missing a hardware on the cabinets. Anything that you see that needs touch up, we mark up, and those markups are usually completed within that short period of time, whether it's 3 days or a week before closing. And on closing day, that's when we get the keys. We do a final walkthrough with the builder to make sure all those blue tapes that we marked are all fixed to your satisfaction. And at that point, funding happens and the closing and the recording of the deed happens at Clark County at the government office in North Las Vegas. Now let's move forward with the 7 things that you need to consider before purchasing a new build. Number 1, do you need to hire a realtor when you purchase a new build? And the answer is absolutely. As your buyer's agent with experience purchasing multiple new construction, and for me, in the last year, I actually have over 25 new constructions that I put under contract, and I'm really excited because slowly they're all closing, and I am able to hand over these keys to all of these families relocating here or investors that have purchased these new construction for rental properties. It's very important to have representation because as your buyer's agent, I know what to ask for. I know the questions. I know what to ask for negotiating the purchase agreement terms. A lot of these buyers don't know or don't even think that you can negotiate on these purchase agreements and the terms. But in reality, especially with this market condition and the market shift that we experienced this past summer, yes, there is room to negotiate. There is absolutely room to ask for more incentive, more builder credits in different formats. And if you don't know to ask those questions, you're missing out. Number 2, what's my total cost? You see all kinds of signs by different builders, and it'll say homes starting at $600,000, homes starting at $700,000. Now, you guys, you may think that's the all-in price, but it actually is not. That's just the starting price. That's just the base price of their smallest model. So I just want you guys to know that what's involved in the total cost of a new construction is not just the base price, but we also have structural upgrades, design upgrades, lot premium, and there's also other items that you need to also be mindful of when you're purchasing a new construction, such as appliances and backyard, landscaping. If you're interested in purchasing and building a pool, that's an additional cost. All those are all factored into your new total cost of a home. So let's talk about these things line by line. So the base price, like I said, is the smallest floor plan that's available in that particular community. That's usually the smallest square footage, the smallest bedroom count, with not that much room for maybe structural upgrades that you see in the larger floor plans. And then we have the structural upgrades. So what are structural upgrades? Let me just give you some examples. Let's say, right now what we're seeing a lot are the next-gen suites. Next-gen suites are rooms where basically you have your own bathroom, a seating area, and a bedroom, sometimes even a kitchenette for your other family members to live with you, in many cases your in-laws. And depending on your lifestyle, you may or may not need a next-gen suite. In my particular case, actually, from a personal experience, I actually have a next-gen suite and I live with my husband's parents. So again, it depends on your lifestyle, but if you wanted to do a next-gen suite, for example, you may want to convert that 4th bedroom into a next-gen suite, and in doing so, you may need to change the configuration of the room so that it is a next-gen suite. Another example is maybe an entertainment room. You might have an opportunity to make one of your rooms an entertainment room with additional cabinets, and maybe you need some structural upgrades for that. So again, structural upgrades are usually presented in the beginning, and depending on the floor plan you get, you're able to move things around and accommodate based on your lifestyle and your family needs. Design upgrades. Design upgrades are all the different finishes that you could upgrade, starting with the flooring. Let's say the standard is carpet and tile, and maybe it's the big tile, or maybe it's, a very standard looking tile, and you want to upgrade it into, let's say, a wood finish tile or a luxury vinyl. Those are design upgrades that you get to choose when you have an appointment with the design center. Now, on top of the flooring, maybe there's other design upgrades that you want to do, for example, kitchen cabinets. Cabinets is huge, right? You guys, and as a mom, obviously kitchen and the cabinets is very important to me. And lately I've actually seen blue cabinets. Comment below and let me know what you guys think about blue cabinets. I actually have a recent listing. I just went under contract today. Woohoo! That has blue cabinets. I'd love to get your thoughts. But again, you have an option to decide what kind of cabinets you want. Do you want to change the color of it? Do you want to change the finish of it? What kind of hardware do you want to put on these cabinets? You have different options and finishes you could choose from. Another thing you could choose at your design center is a staircase. Maybe it comes with a standard staircase, or the standard staircase is maybe a pony wall, right? It's not open, it's kind of blocky looking. Maybe you want to upgrade it into more of that newer, modern, stainless steel, open staircases that you see in a lot of the model homes now. I've been asked many times, Kaori, what's it usually like when you're having some design upgrades? What kind of percentage of the base price are you seeing? I would say conservatively, especially with my investor clients, I'm seeing anywhere from 5 to 10%. And then for those that are making their home a primary, I'm seeing closer to 10 to 30%, depending again on your lifestyle and your liking and how beautiful you want to make your home. That's kind of the budget that you're seeing of the base price. So definitely keep that into consideration because that's added cost on top of your base price. The lot premium. Lot premium ranges based on the different builders, but I do have to share with you because I almost fell off my chair when I heard this. There's a luxury builder in Summerlin West, and they do have beautiful strip views, and one of their lot premiums, you guys, was $150,000. I almost fell off my chair. But again, that's something that, is if it's very important for you. Lot premium is decided based on views, the location, if you're in a cul-de-sac. Again, you always have to think about the resale value as well. So if that $150,000 makes sense for you because you're getting unobstructed strip view and mountain views, that's for consideration. Additional costs that you need to be mindful of is the backyard. As a new build, you get the backyard as a dirt lot. There's nothing there. It's your responsibility. It varies based on HOA, but usually speaking, you need to submit a rendering within the first 6 months after you close to let the HOA know what you're planning to do with your backyard. It might be a desert landscaping with some cactuses or some very small landscaping. Maybe you have a small pet and you want to put turf in your backyard. Those are the things that you need to call out in your renderings, and then you have an additional 6 months to complete the backyard. So you have a total of a year to complete your backyard. And again, a lot of people ask me this, Kaori, what happens if you don't finish your backyard in time? Can you ask for extension? Do you get penalized? And the answer is yes, you do get penalized if you don't communicate with your HOA and let them know what's going on. Due to the pandemic and the supply chain issues, a lot of HOAs are understanding that you may need a little longer time to finish your backyard. As long as you're communicating, emailing your HOA, and they know your vision and your intention, you will be okay. But if you go dark, if you're MIA and you don't finish your backyard, you may get a fine in the mail. So keep that in mind. For those of you that love pools, and again, being that we live in the desert, a pool is usually a necessity, especially for family members with small children, right? So let's talk about pools and if you're able to put in a pool in your backyard. Absolutely, just put it in the renderings, get the HOA approval, and yes, you're able to build the pool. For those of you that's interested in putting a pool or a spa in your backyard, there's a new regulation that you need to be aware of. There's been a new initiative to conserve water, and the limit on the pool size is 600 square feet. Now, 600 square feet is still a very nice and decent pool size, you guys. The average is actually 475 square feet in all of Las Vegas. If you're trying to build a pool, just be mindful of the size requirements. Just note that it's going to take you from a few months to even a year to build that dream backyard. Most recently with my clients, it's actually been averaging close to 8 to 12 month build time for pools. And that's because, these pool builders have subcontractors, and with COVID and supply chain shortages, these are some of the delays that we're experiencing. And just be mindful that you won't have a pool ready to go when you buy a new build. You have to go through that process, get that HOA approval, and get that pool built, and it could be as much as a year long time. I do want to mention that for new builds, appliances don't come with it, right? So you do need to buy your own fridge, washer, and dryer so that you can move into the house. Now, you could, get a stellar deal and maybe get all 3 of those items for under $3,000. Or I've had a buyer recently that bought the top model of the Samsung stainless fridge. I think it's a smart fridge. I think it costed him like $5,000, but he's super, super happy about it. So I'm really, really happy, and congratulations to my buyer. But those are costs that you need to be mindful of when purchasing a new build. In comparison, I do have to mention for a resale home, everything is included. And as your buyer's agent, I always negotiate that the appliances are included in the contract as well. If you have a resale home that has all the appliances and even has a pool or a finished backyard, that's something you don't have to worry about. So again, pros and cons, right? You have to always decide if you want to go with a new build or if you want to go to a resale. And something to obviously consider is that in a resale transaction, you know the all-in price, because that would be the all-in price. There's no additional fees and additional costs that's involved like you're experiencing in the new build. Number 3, what's the timeline like? When you purchase a new build, you need to be flexible with your timeline. And here's why. Pre-COVID, new construction timeline in Las Vegas and Henderson averaged between 6 to 8 months. Now, post-COVID, we're experiencing anywhere from 8 to 12 months. And some luxury builders, I won't name who, but they're actually taking 2 years, 24 months for them to finish and complete their new construction. On top of their time frame that they provide to you, you need to be mindful that there may be some delays. What I'm experiencing with my clients in West Summerlin is anywhere from a 3-week delay to a 2-month delay. So what does that mean? If you're relocating, let's say from California, and you need to sell your home to move here, and you've already have your home under contract and you're working with a specific timeline, there may be a scenario where if there is a delay in your new construction here in Las Vegas and Henderson, you may need to do a short-term rental here in Las Vegas to wait until your new construction is done. You need to have that flexibility. And obviously to have that flexibility, you need to have some wiggle room on your budget in the event you have to rent short-term for a few months. So I do want to bring up timeline. Everyone has different situations, whether you're relocating here or not, or maybe you have a home or you're renting. If you're renting and the landlord is flexible and you could go month to month, great. But let's say your landlord doesn't have that flexibility. What are you going to do? You actually need to find another replacement home to rent while your new construction is being built. And or maybe you have a great family member you could stay with and you tell them, oh, I'm only going to stay here for a month. But let's say there's another delay and it turns out to be 3 months. Let's make sure your family member is okay with that. Number 4, what are my financing options? There's a myth that many buyers think that financing for a new build could get complicated. Yes and no, it just depends, but let's talk about that. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, one of the things that you need to do to go into the purchase agreement is to actually get pre-qualified by the builder's preferred lender. In most cases, the builder actually owns the lender. So let me just give you an example. For example, Taylor Morrison is a builder and they also have Taylor Morrison Funding that is the lending arm for their new construction. So they want all the buyers to go through the pre-approval process with Taylor Morrison Funding, and it's your choice if you want to move forward with their lender or choose to maybe go with a bank like Chase or Bank of America or whoever you bank with. Or maybe it's another mortgage lender like Loan Depot or anyone else that has better terms. Again, that's obviously up to you to do your due diligence. And as your buyer's agent, I highly recommend doing your due diligence and getting different quotes from different lenders, because at the end of the day, we could use that to leverage and negotiate on the best financial option for your situation. So let's just say that you want to move forward with the lender because the lender is offering some incentives. And I'm actually going to talk about builder incentives in my next point, but there's ways to get incentives, additional incentives, if you use their specific lender. But let's say you decide not to go with their lender and go with the bank or go with Loan Depot. Then obviously it's the usual process, what we experience in resale as well. These lenders will then go through their regular process to get you pre-approved, go through the underwriting, get all the documents to get that loan ready and ready for you to close. Now, the tricky part is that because you need to be flexible on the closing date, what we are experiencing right now with a hike in the interest rate is what do we need to do to lock down the rates so that we're covered in the event that there's these delays with the builders, right? A lot of these financial companies are now locking down rates up to a year. So again, it's really, really important to do your due diligence and do your homework to see which lender would be more flexible depending on the different programs they offer, depending on the rate lock options they have. It's really important to do your homework, you guys. As your buyer's agent, I do have the contacts that you could reach out to get different opinions. So again, reach out to me if you have any questions on mortgages and financials, because I do have a handful of preferred lenders that I could refer you to. So I think the tricky part about financing for a new build is definitely because the closing date could be delayed and you don't have a set date. It's not like a resale transaction where you know that you could get the loan within 30 days or 45 days and close on time. That's the tricky part about new construction. But are there ways around it? Absolutely. By the way, if we haven't met yet, konnichiwa. My name is Kaori Nagao, your Las Vegas lifestyle specialist, helping you find your new home in Las Vegas and Henderson. Make sure you hit that notification bell if you're considering making Las Vegas or Henderson your new home. Now let's keep going. Number 5, builder incentives. As I mentioned before, if you're working with the lending arm of the builder, there's more builder incentives that they're offering. So let me give you a couple of scenarios. In my experience, a lot of builders right now are offering incentives anywhere from 2 to 3% towards closing costs, in addition to point reduction in your interest rates, especially for the first and second year, in order to get these buyers to lock down a purchase agreement with them. And in order to do so, they want you to use their preferred lender, in most cases, the builder's lender. There are some other initiatives and incentives if you're paying cash. For example, one builder in particular in Summerlin West is offering $5,000 toward your closing costs if you pay in cash. So again, it's case by case, but these incentives are growing day by day because of the market condition and the shift that we have just experienced. Builders are offering more incentives. I've had a builder that actually offered to pay for your appliances and window coverings. Can you believe that? So, appliances, let's call it $3,000 to $5,000. Window coverings, let's say another $3,000 to $5,000. I mean, that's an additional $10,000 in initiatives. So again, depending on the builder, you're able to negotiate, and depending on your buyer's situation as well. If you're using the builder's lender, there's more room to negotiate on incentives. Number 6, design upgrades can be overwhelming. And yes, it can be. Because you know why? When you go to that design center, you're like a kid in a candy store. So let me explain. After you've signed your purchase agreement, one of the first things that the new home sales contact will do is schedule an appointment for you and your loved ones to go to the design center and meet with the design center specialist. So many of these builders have a beautiful model home showroom with all the design upgrades that you could possibly think of, from the flooring to the kitchen cabinets to the hardware to the staircase to the window coverings. So again, you go to the appointment. They usually block 2 hours, but to be honest with you, average time for my buyers has been close to 4 hours. And this is why, because there's just so much to see and so much selection to do, so much selection to choose from. It does get overwhelming. So within that design appointment, you're in the process of deciding whether you want to stay with the standard, which obviously is no additional cost to you, or if you want to upgrade to a more beautiful finish, and that would be an upgraded cost that is added on to your total price of the new construction purchase agreement. A couple of tips. Tip number 1, some of the items, personally, you could do it after the fact. So just to give you an example, I had a buyer that saw this beautiful fireplace that was tiled all the way from floor to ceiling, and it was a beautiful 20-foot ceiling height fireplace. Now, yes, you could choose to do that at the design center, but what are the cost differences if you were to do it at the design center versus after the fact with a tile company? So let me share with you some stats. If you were to do it through the design upgrades through the builder, that fireplace would have costed you approximately $20,000. Now, my buyer took my recommendation and said, you know what, I'm going to do it after close. After close, they hired my tile company that I've done a lot of work with. And can you guess how much cost of the material, labor for installation was for the fireplace? Comment below. It was $7,500. Big cost difference, right? So if there's things that you could wait on, and especially if you're the type that want to do it yourself after closing, that's a lot of cost savings. I personally recommend doing the flooring through the design center, so everything's done and ready to go, because that's more of a bigger renovation versus something like tile or an additional upgrades that you could do after the fact. Tip number 2. My recommendations to my buyers is always to be mindful of the resale value when making the design upgrades. And let me give you another example. I have a buyer that just fell in love with these blue cabinets, right? And they're beautiful. And you may love them, I love them, but it's not for everybody. So those are kind of the things that you need to be mindful of, because at the end of the day, as long as it gives you happiness and you live in the house, but then what happens after that for resale? Maybe, you put your home on sale and one of the catches or the feedback that you're getting from these prospective buyers is your blue cabinets. Maybe that would be something that people love the house, but they don't really love the blue cabinets, so they don't want to move forward with a purchase contract. So those are just some of the things that you just need to be mindful of when you're making some design upgrades. I always tell my clients, as long as it gives you happiness and if that's what you need for your lifestyle and it makes sense for you and your family, go for it. But it's always just good to be mindful of the resale value in the event that you plan to move up to a new home in the next few years. Remember, if you've lived in your primary home for over 2 years, and you want to sell your home, any capital gain, if you're single, up to $250,000, and if you're a married couple, up to $500,000 is tax-free. But I definitely want to share with you that it's really important to always keep in mind the resale value. Are you thinking about buying a new construction home? Send me an email, contact me through my social media platforms, and let me know. And remember, I could help you not only in Las Vegas and Henderson, but nationwide and globally. Number 7, working with builders could be difficult. And this is exactly why you need to get representation and hire a buyer's agent that's experienced like myself to walk you through the process even after closing. So let me just give you an example, because this just recently happened and it's on my chest and I do need to share it with you. Working with builders could be difficult, especially if you're not having that communication. And again, it depends on the sales contact. It depends on the construction team contact. For me, because I've done so many transactions in these new construction homes all over the valley, I have direct cell phone numbers of superintendents and VP contacts that I could make a personal phone call or text message if I'm having any issues communicating with any of their salespeople or anyone on the construction team. Communication is key, especially if your new home sales contact is not really good at communicating to you, especially if there's a delay, but they're holding off that information. You guys, that's going to impact your financing and your rate lock and all of your relocation and moving time frame, right? Communication is so key, and sometimes, unfortunately, people that work in the builder side may not be good at communicating like myself. So what happens? It's really important to have a realtor like myself to chime in and follow up, especially with the closing date, especially with some of the items maybe that the builder promised to fix before closing. Just to give you an example, let's say at the new home orientation walkthrough, we mark up the home, right, with the blue tape. And there's something wrong with the door and you need one slider door replaced. Now, the slider door, it's not going to be a quick fix. It's not going to be something that's going to be fixed within your 3 to week time frame before closing, because it's going to take them, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks to get this new door. Who's going to manage and project manage and make sure that this new sliding door does come into your buyer's home? At the end of the day, it's my responsibility, and I take initiative to make sure that everything that the builder promises to do is executed. And sometimes, unfortunately, it doesn't happen that way. Every new construction has a customer service department, and those are the people that would always check in with you, follow up, and make sure everything is great. One of the good things about buying a new construction home is that you get a 1-year warranty on all cosmetic items, so that there's somebody that you could call or text and basically have them come to your house to take care of that for you, right? But what if you're not able to locate or get in communication with that customer service representative? What do you do as a buyer if you don't have representation? Yes, you could follow up with a new home salesperson, but that's not within their scope of work. They'll then pass you on to the construction team or maybe somebody else at the customer service team. But who's really managing and making sure your new replacement sliding door is delivered and installed properly? That would be me. Communication is key to a smooth transaction, whether it's a resale or a new construction. And unfortunately, there are times when communication is lacking from the builder's side. And for me, because of my experience and because I know so many people, I'll be always able to get around to the top of the ladder to do a follow-up and make sure all of my buyers are satisfied in closing their brand new home, their dream home here in Las Vegas and Henderson. For tips on buying new construction and real estate, make sure you check out my playlist. Thank you so much and see you on the next one.